I'm Brittany Lewis with Forbes Breaking News. During Senate floor remarks on Wednesday, Senator Amy Klobuchar promoted the Right to Contraception Act. This legislation comes after the Supreme Court's recent ruling to overturn Roe v. Wade. Klobuchar said she fears that, quote, the worst is yet to come, since in his concurring opinion, Justice Clarence Thomas detailed other cases he believes should be reconsidered, such as same-sex marriage and the right to contraception. Klobuchar has been a supporter of other reproductive care legislation, such as a bill to protect the right to travel to other states for abortions, but they have been blocked by Senate Republicans.
The senior senator from Minnesota.
Madam President, I rise in support of the Right to Contraception Act. 33 days ago, the Supreme Court issued a rule shredding nearly 5 decades of precedent, protecting a woman's right to make her own health care decisions. Now women, as we have seen over the last weeks, are at the mercy of a patchwork of state laws governing their ability to access reproductive care, leaving them with fewer rights than their moms and their grandmas. So now a woman in Minnesota has different rights when it comes to her reproductive care than a woman in Missouri. A woman in North Dakota has different rights than a woman in Indiana. That's what we're dealing with right now. 2 weeks ago, I joined several of my Democratic colleagues on the floor to push for legislation to preserve a woman's right to travel to other states to access reproductive care, led by Senator Cortez Masto. Unfortunately, Republicans on the other side of the aisle blocked us from that vote. So we came back last week to push for legislation led by my colleague, Senator Tina Smith, to protect and expand funding for a program created under a Republican administration, a Republican presidential administration, to fund clinics that support maternal care, conduct cancer screenings, and provide contraception. But again, that vote failed because we were not allowed to move forward with it. So we came back to the floor today because if the Supreme Court won't protect people's fundamental rights, that's why we have 3 branches of government. That was the concept of our founding fathers. So if the Supreme Court isn't going to protect people's fundamental rights, then everyone in this chamber has to decide whether or not they're going to do it. And that includes making sure everyone can access contraception. I'm concerned that the worst is yet to come. Right now, state and local legislators are literally racing, along with governors, to be the first to say which state can limit rights the most first. What rights can we take away? Sadly, it's not too hard to guess. In his concurring opinion in Dobbs, Justice Thomas actually laid out a roadmap with clear directions for how the court could overturn the right to contraception. He said that the Supreme Court, and this is a quote, should reconsider. Should reconsider. Those 2 words, they should reconsider. Whether the Constitution protects the right to access contraception as well as the right to marry whoever you love. Why? Because he talked about looking at other cases with regard to right to privacy. The Supreme Court has recognized the right to access contraception for more than 57 years, but the conservative justices on the Supreme Court have shown they don't hesitate to overturn decades-old precedent, no matter what they say at their Supreme Court hearings. This threat is not hypothetical. Last year, the Missouri state legislature tried to cut off public funding for widely used contraceptives like IUDs and Plan B. Mississippi's governor has refused to rule out banning contraception, and a bill was introduced in Louisiana this spring that could be used to make IUDs illegal. These radical proposals don't just hurt those in the states that implement the bans. Since the Dobbs decision, we have now seen how state bans create an uncertain legal environment for doctors and strain resources at clinics in states like Minnesota, because the North Dakota clinic had to literally start a GoFundMe page to be able to get the costs paid for, the cost, of course, of moving the clinic from Fargo, North Dakota to Moorhead. That's what's happening right now in my state. We cannot settle for a situation, as I noted, where people in my state have different rights than women in Mississippi or Missouri. And with so many extreme politicians out there racing to state capitals to be the first to take people's rights away, we need to explicitly protect the right to access contraception and information about contraception. I will note that more than 80% of Americans support access to contraception. That's why I join with Senators Markey, Hirono, Murray, and Duckworth in co-sponsoring this bill to protect the right to access contraception and information about contraceptives. This bill safeguards a patient's ability to seek contraceptives and a healthcare provider's ability to provide those critical services. The right to contraception can't just be an empty promise. That's why the bill gives the Department of Justice, as well as patients and doctors, the power to make sure that we don't infringe on the right to contraception. I'm proud to join my colleagues, and for the last 33 days, I've been thinking about all the women in this country facing an unacceptably uncertain future. Today, each and every one of my colleagues had the opportunity to make clear where they stand. But when given the opportunity, some seized the opportunity to protect the right to contraception, some did not. I hope that some of our colleagues will change their minds and we can move forward with this and put in place these laws protecting the right to travel, protecting the right to contraception, and of course, in the end, protecting